April 24th. And this is going to be business news, mainly, and a little bit of what?
Social?
Social.
Wait. Did we do social last time? No, we did security last time.
Yeah, it's just...
Social.
We got a lot of nonsense this week, though. A lot of nonsense.
This one is kind of short, though.
A lot of misuse of technology this week in hilarious and terrible ways.
Business is a little muted, which you kind of expect because, you know, the economy's in the doldrums. And we'll start with that. Unfortunately, hopefully this doesn't delay everything, right?
GTA 6 publisher Take-Two is laying off 5% of its workforce and may cancel games. I think Take-Two has lost touch with the culture that made GTA in the first place. So,
well, they've lost touch with the culture that loved GTA, and they've gone over to the culture of what GTA represents, which is criminals.
Can we get the Pal World team together to do something in a more GTA genre? I feel like that is the reinvigoration that we need.
Vehicle-related misdemeanor. That'll be the copycat. And EV darling, Tesla, everything's going great with them, right?
Tesla will lay off more than 10% of its workforce. I was expecting 20%, so 10% is kind of a miracle. But that sent the stock into a free fall. I think the New York Times really wants to get on the anti-Musk bandwagon, but you know, it doesn't mention anything about the lawsuit for the $50 billion compensation package and blah blah blah, which in the beginning I thought the courts should not intervene on the $50 billion compensation package, but now it's kind of like, if you're Elon Musk and you're laying off 10% of the workforce, like, he really could come out looking like a hero if he's like, well, I really am entitled to this, but because the company is now not doing well, okay.
And it wouldn't cost $50 billion, right?
No,
it cost maybe one.
Yeah, if he's just like.
But if you're just employing people for no reason, I don't know if that's a good business plan. You have shareholders you have to worry about in that case.
One of the folks that left very publicly was an engineer that had always published thoughtful blogs on like the car powertrain and batteries, and I was surprised to see him go because he'd been there forever. And, you know, his last blog post was like, I'm leaving Tesla after like 12 or 15 years. And he really wasn't disparaging the company at all. But reading between the lines, it was just like, I'm very tired of moving at this pace.
That's after cost cut, which is just ripped the legs out from under all the other car companies. So he's basically setting the prices of EVs at this point.
Remember when Cybertruck had an amphibious mode? Whatever happened to that? Cost cutting.
You know, there was a late story I didn't add it. Did you see the gas pedal one?
Yeah, they're recalling it. Yeah, it's a recall.
Well, they are not the only ones cutting people, but this time it's not just because of economics. These people did something that was intolerable.
The Reuters headline is Google terminates 28 employees for protest of Israeli cloud contract. Gosh, you remember when Basecamp did this? Basecamp said, leave your politics at home and just come to work on stuff, and people lost their minds.
Remember when Google did this? What was it, Project Maven?
Yeah.
And in those days, think about how much the window has moved here. In those days, they were like, all right, we're sensitive to what you have to say. Let's talk about this. And this time it was just like, you're out. You're done. Now, they did take over an executive's office, like physically broke in. So they did commit a crime. I guess it makes it easier to fire you if you do that. And Intel is also maybe cutting on some production.
Intel axes 13th gen Core i5, i7, and i9 K series CPUs. The lineup will be discontinued by May 24th, 2024. This article, I don't think, is very well organized in terms of what it's trying to say, because we still have 12th gen and we still have 14th gen. This is just 13th gen. And in Linux, under the hood, when you ask the CPU what its ID is, I've got some news for you. Some Raptor Lake CPUs still report the same idea as their older Lake counterparts, the 12th gen counterparts. So turns out there might really not have been very much difference between the 12th, 13th, and 14th generation, except for just how the CPUs were bent and a couple of clocks, a couple of bus speed tweaks. Not a lot of difference.
And the flip-flop of world's #1 phone maker continues to flip and flop.
Apple loses its mantle as the world's biggest phone seller to Samsung as China sales drop.
Chinese are not buying iPhones anymore. And I imagine as more and more bands come down, that will increase. And Samsung is one of the champions of the ARM chips. You know, they've invested heavily into that. And the big Snapdragon chips are sort of like the next big thing. How good are they?
News of Snapdragon X Elite, full steam ahead to laptop dominance over Intel, AMD, and Apple. So I think it's not known now, but it will be by the time this video comes out. It's going to be faster than ARM. This is Qualcomm's thing. They're debuting something on April 24th. I really, really hope that for Qualcomm this is not too little too late. Because remember, the Surface X. The Surface X beat the Apple M1 to the market. And the Surface X was garbage. And was it garbage because the CPU wasn't good? I think people inside Microsoft lost sight of what they were trying to do with Surface X. It was like, this should be a premium experience. And they're like, nah, we'll just build something super cheap because it's ARM-based. And it's like, that's not what you should be doing.
Now, Apple, it seems, was not powerful enough to actually stop right to repair. They tried. God bless them, they tried. But it eventually happened. But there is one company that is amazingly completely immune to it, even to this day.
Farmers have clamored for the right to repair for years. It's getting little traction in the in John Deere's home state, which is surprising.
Indiana, I think, right? But they go on. I mean, we've covered this ad nauseum, but they point out that they were supposed to get diagnostic tools. They were given diagnostic tools, but they're incomplete. And one guy described like a 4-week wait to have one sensor replaced because he didn't know which sensor. He could have done it himself, but he didn't know which one.
Well, you'll just have to buy 12.
It took the repairman, I think, 15 minutes. But when you're harvesting crops, a week, that can be critical. And over at Google, they are, as all the other tech companies are doing, putting everything into the AI basket.
Google is combining its Android hardware teams and its Android and hardware teams, and it's all about AI. So, okay, this is good. Remember when Google came out with Chromebooks that weren't the cheapest, crappiest plastic ever, and those were actually pretty good?
Well, TSMC is, they're sitting on top of the world. Everybody needs their services, but they got hit by an earthquake. And it turns out that TSMC and the Taiwan government are real chummy. You know, there might not be a lot of separation there. And so when they were called on to do the right thing, they did it.
TSMC powers parts of Taipei with backup generators. Taiwan requests help as blackouts begin. So that's neat. The earthquake damaged some stuff, and TSMC's like, hey, we've got a spare electrical production capacity. Would that help speed the repair process? And everybody said, yep, sounds good. And it's just a magical, feel-good, happy story.
I imagine they're going to get some concessions the next time a contract comes up, or maybe at tax time. But good on them. And we have the whole net neutrality thing and all the big fights about. This one's actually about funding. Like, we give them all that free money, and they basically do nothing with it. And they're actually getting called out for that, and they have to fight that with lobbying.
Telecom fights price caps as U.S. spends billions on internet access. This is like, Amazon. Amazon EC2, like the cost per unit compute. Is that going up? Is that going down? Is that staying the same for everything else? Your ISP. Has your ISP price, like for whatever, has it gotten cheaper? Has it gotten a lot cheaper? Is it about the same? It only gets cheaper when another competitor moves to the area. Otherwise, you're still stuck on that 3 meg 128K DSL, right? That's what our audience tells us.
And this, it's a big bunch of money where they're like, hey, we are going to give you this money, and this is so that you can expand the network. We want the low-income, at-risk people to get internet. And the ISPs are like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. And they're like, oh, and by the way, those really low-income people, we're going to put a price cap on that. And the ISPs are like, no. We still need that money, but we just can't do the price cap thing.
We want to be a monopoly, but we want to behave as if we are a monopoly without any kind of constraints. We want a legally enforced monopoly. And it's like, this doesn't sound very capitalistic, guys.
And John Deere is like, yeah, guys. Mr. Musk is famous for maybe not paying his bills Maybe doing that on purpose, which is weird because he's the world's richest man. So you'd think that like he wouldn't have a problem with it, but just time and time again.
The CNBC headline is Elon Musk email says Tesla sent incorrectly low severance packages to laid off employees. So the 10% of people that lost their jobs, some of them said, wait a minute, this severance package is not consistent with what I've been promised. And then Elon Musk said, oh, well, you've got me dead to rights. I guess I'll have to comply.
So maybe he will. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll do it for a little while and then stop again because that seems to be the MO. And the other MO is lying about your product.
Full self-driving Teslas keep slamming into curbs because they're, the new full self-driving software rolled out and it's moving the cars around, but it keeps hitting curbs.
Now, aren't they opening up robo-taxis?
Yeah.
Won't they be using the same software?
It's maybe not good.
And Apple doesn't want this, but they have to do it. But they're still putting up hoop after hoop to jump through. It's disgusting.
Apple will soon let users in the EU download apps through the websites, not just app stores. In order to download the app through the website, it's got to have some sort of global whitelist. It has to be signed cryptographically by Apple. As a developer, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops. But theoretically, you might not need an app store to generate to download an app, which is great because this is the first thing that we said when we saw this is like, there's going to be Apple and 2 other app stores that are going to take all your money. This could actually be good, but in reality, it looks like Apple is going to do everything they can to sabotage the actual functionality.
And there's going to be a lot of scary things that you have to agree to before you can do this, which, are basically going to say, do you hate children? Yes or no? And, it's going to scare most people away. But it is happening. There is going to be an App Store alternative, and we now have one guaranteed.
What? AirStore?
AltStore.
AltStore. AltStore, PAL Alternative App Marketplace, launches on iPhone in the EU. It's the first one out the door, so it's also the least polished one out the door. But it's something.
But it's very little of something, because right now you can't put your own app in there. It's only there at 2 apps, which is an emulator and something else. But they said they're going to test it with their own stuff, and if it works, then you can put your stuff in there.
Fun times.
And one thing that Apple had to do that everybody was kind of shocked about was put some emulators back on the App Store, because they had to try to dodge all the stuff that they're getting sued for. But as the Apple way, they just can't stand it. They can't stand not to control those walls.
Apple removes the first iOS Game Boy emulator released under the new App Store rules, IGBA. But this wasn't because of Apple. This was because this app was basically a copy-paste stolen app from an open source application that was developed by a couple of people while they were in high school.
But is this sort of like, are they going to point to that and be like, look, see, you need us. You need us to be the curator.
If that were true, though, there's so many garbage applications that they should have already been the curator of if they're going to play that role.
Is this the same one we already did?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to cut that one in. And YouTube are following in the footsteps of everybody else by making the online video platform as bad as possible so that they can drive you back to regular television, I guess. I don't know what their game is here.
The Verge's headline is YouTube's ad blocker crackdown now includes third-party apps. Basically, if you're watching YouTube somewhere else and you're not seeing the ads, you're not seeing the video either.
I knew it would come to that someday. And Amazon, as we know, they have been known to play dirty a little bit. Maybe cheat their sellers a little bit, but also maybe to cheat some competitors.
Amazon had a secret operation to gather intel on rivals like Walmart and FedEx, reportedly called Big River. Yeah, they do be like that, Amazon.
So Amazon literally had a guy who was completely clandestine. He didn't even tell his supervisors what he was up to. And he was setting up accounts and buying and selling things all by himself through all these things just to see what happened, see how it worked. And then feeding all that straight to the top executives. Didn't eBay get in trouble for that?
They did. A couple of grocery chains got in trouble for that too.
And Discord, apparently, with their newfound popularity, is just so happy to join the axis of evil.
Discord is nuking Nintendo Switch emulator devs and their entire servers. So this was not Yuzu. This was Suyu and the other one. Their Discord servers are gone, and the people that ran those Discords have been banned from Discord entirely. And when asked for comment, Discord said, "Oh,
dude, we're making a lot of money. We're making a lot of important friends, and they tell us to do things, and we do them." And the Epic Apple thing has sort of settled out a little bit, but that is not the only company that they want to do battle with.
Epic Games has proposed that Google's App Store adopt some reforms after their antitrust win. Basically, Epic Games is saying, we would love to put our app on the Google App Store. We just want to see these revisions, which include not charging 30% when you're making millions upon millions of dollars.
Everybody hates that one. And Google is killing again. This time, though, it seems to be a service that no one ever cared about.
Google One is shutting down its VPN feature later this year. The company says people just aren't using it. Yeah.
Because a known spy company is saying that they're going to protect you from spying, but you have to go through them. I think most people are smart enough not to fall for that. Good on the people for not falling for that one. However, we have all collectively fallen for this, which is the major television media sold us streaming, got us all hooked on paying more, and now have successfully transformed it right back into regular television. What a coup. I can't believe they got away with it.
The lines between streaming and cable continue to blur. I, for one, enjoy the infighting among all of the companies in the stack necessary to provide streaming for who should get a bigger cut of the individual's money, and then the individual's just getting frustrated and downloading it from their own media server.
So, Disney Plus are going to have regular TV channels like that. You don't get to choose what you watch, and it has regular commercials, you know, just like TV has always been. So there's going to be a Star Wars channel and a something else channel.
Now can I get a DVR for that so I can time shift those programs?
That would be such a roundabout.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why would you do that?
Sorry, sir, that's illegal. Just why?
And this article begs the question, just how out of touch are all these tech billionaires actually? How far have they gone? How little do they understand the reality of the world that they're trying to sell things to?
Former video game executive sparks debate after claiming players should tip developers. Tell me that you're completely disconnected from reality because you're wealthy beyond the dreams of avarice without telling me that you are completely disconnected from reality because you're wealthy beyond the dreams of avarice.
This guy used to be the top guy at Blizzard, and then he was at Xbox for a while. So, yeah, he probably doesn't know what the price of a bunch of bananas is.
It's going to get to a point where the Rockstar 6 devs are all, you know, it's going to be like waitressing at the Olive Garden. And it's like, here's your developers that are working on GTA 6. They're all living under their desks, and their desks are, you know, an old door on a pair of sawhorses. Don't you want to see your developer working on GTA 6 have a better life experience?
Yeah, a lot of people pointed out that they didn't trust that money would go directly to the developers.
That's weird. Why would game companies have created a situation where they simply do not trust that? Meanwhile, like the Dwarf Fortress guys, like the more info that came out about those guys' personal situation, the more people that were like, I'm going to buy like 5 copies of Dwarf Fortress on Steam just for fun.
Because those guys were literally in a trailer somewhere. They're doing much better now, I think, after the Steam release. And this is disappointing. I'm disappointed in all of you for this, because this is why we can't have nice things.
Netflix blows past earning estimates as subscribers jump 16%. Now, I was really scratching my head on this until I looked around and figured out, well, actually, Netflix is still the cheap option at like $18 a month or whatever it is, because Disney, Hulu, whatever, and HBO have all lost their damn minds.
Did Netflix go ads, or can you still do ad free?
Yeah, there are ads. There is an ad plan with Netflix, I do believe.
Wow. They have announced, though, this was a weird one. Going forward, they're not going to give any guidance on subscriber count. They're going to keep that hidden from now on. What do they know?
That everything is going to go down.
And moving AI into everything continues.
Meta's new AI assistant is rolling out across WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Messenger. This is based, I think, on Llama 3, and Llama 3 is also downloadable. You can get the 70 billion parameter model and also compressed versions that are 8 billion parameters, or that have been sparsified, or that, you know, a whole bunch of different versions of that model on Hugging Face, and it really is quite good. Apparently the 400 billion parameter version of that model is shockingly good.
And if you're one of those people who pretends that your life is a lot better than it actually is on social media, that's going to get a lot easier thanks to AI.
Meta is adding real-time AI image generation to WhatsApp. Great. Just what we need. More AI-generated content for search engines to find and give to you, and then for you to evaluate and then think, this is useless.
And for you to send to unsuspecting people and dupe them and steal from them. And Facebook has some somewhat automated, it's kind of like that fake AI, where some of it's AI probably, but a lot of it is just people in poor countries doing horrible jobs all day long. And it gets things wrong. And sometimes it gets things wrong in really embarrassing ways.
Facebook apologizes for flagging Auschwitz Museum's posts as violating community standards. This is, truly a boring dystopia because they posted a bunch of things and the AI said, oh, this is clearly some sort of trolling or user. No, this is abuse. No.
Harmful content. I mean, it is probably some distasteful stuff.
Yeah.
But should we forget that?
And then the museum is like, no, a human being should review this. And then the AI says, oh, human just reviewed this. It's still bad. Well, we've experienced that.
And the whole, you're not allowed to share data between all of your apps thing continues to get the Meta Corporation because they share everything among all their apps. And they're lying when they say that they don't.
Meta to close Threads in Turkey to comply with an injunction prohibiting data sharing with Instagram. How is, Threads is Instagram. So they're just going to turn it off.
And the bots. Now, we've seen that the number of bots on the internet is increasing exponentially. It's hard to ever know if you're communicating with a human anymore. It's going to get worse. Elon Musk's solution to it, I feel, is not going to sit well with most Twitter users.
Elon Musk confirms intentions to change new X users or to charge new X users a temporary fee to let them post to make sure that they're not bots. He says, but he's also going to make a lot of money if people are dumb enough to fall for this.
Now, a lot of people pointed out, hey, here are 8 examples of bot accounts with blue checks. They're willing to pay.
I also like that there's not really a CAPTCHA that works. It's like, do this Fourier transform to prove that you're not a bot. And it's like, wait a minute, that's actually easier for a bot than a human being. It's a bit of a problem. And now with AI, the sky's the limit.
Well, what I love about this article is that the new boogeyman is extreme fitness. How dare you talk about fitness? You know what? Because if you're talking about fitness, you're probably talking about not eating certain foods that the advertisers might be paying for.
TikTok will block users from your feed if they repeatedly post problematic content, such as what you might think extreme fitness, as Ryan said, or sadness videos. What
is this sadness? There's no sadness on TikTok. You are banned.
Ryan, he's talking about us.
We're not on TikTok. And Reddit, with their hot new IPO, has definitely joined the ranks of big tech if they weren't there already. What does that mean? That means kowtowing to the copyright police.
Reddit reports surge in copyright-related user bans. So basically, Reddit is like, we got better tools for detecting that people are doing bad things with copywritten content. So we're jettisoning those users.
And remember Glassdoor, where you could put anonymous reviews about workplaces so other people could see them, but you didn't get in trouble. And they went back and they were like, we're going to put your real name on that. Well, apparently that's a trend.
Your anonymous OpenTable reviews will soon display your first name, because that's exactly what everybody wanted, right?
So you can anonymously put reviews about restaurants that you might go back to someday. Although if you hate them, why would you go back? But they are not allowing that anymore. I guess the restaurants have pushed back, so now your name's going to appear. I think they do confirm that you had a reservation, though. So, they try to defeat the whole Yelp bombing thing.
Oh, yeah. Some of the restaurant owners, they do get really... I can think of a couple of stories. There was a local bar owner that was a particular firecracker with the whole online thing started, and he would just go nuts, review bombing other bars. It's just like, this doesn't even matter.
There's a lot of personalities when they get a hold of that, they become just nightmares. And Telegram is maybe one of the more secure ways. I don't know. People in the comments are always talking crap about them. I don't know how bad they are, but they're better than Google, right? Got to be.
Telegram founder, Google, Apple, and others are the real enemies of free speech. I mean, can it be all of the above? I think it can be all of the above. All of the above in different ways.
Yeah, I think the government is definitely in there. But the thing about it is they work so hand in hand. You know, they pretend to be bitter enemies, but without the other, one wouldn't have the power that it has.
It really is alarming the number of government entities that won't take the time to understand that end-to-end encryption is good for both the user and good for keeping the government honest.
Which the government is not and has not been, and is why they don't like that.
You know, I almost added a story this week that the CIA won their bid to have the whole like Bush senior Panama Canal, like that whole thing from before he was president, like that. It was a big scandal. They got the declassified report on that taken down off the Internet Archive, and it's just like it's a matter of public, like, why? Come on.
That is a wild story. You know, it was supposed to be Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Some politics got in the way. And finally, another disappointing week. The big story, obviously, which I didn't include anything, it's not really that tech related, was the trial. But that was not the only bad news for Donald Trump this week.
Trump media shares close. Trump media shares closed down more than 14%. The company says Truth Social is going to launch TV streaming.
CNBC has a terrible headline here because, yeah, they did announce that, but that's not why the stock went down. The stock went down because they issued a bunch of new shares. They're squeezing money out of that stuff. Man's got legal bills.
Well, he can't sell for another year?
Well, I guess they're trying to just generate capital for the company.
Man, it's not going to end well.
It could rebound, right? We'll see.
It seems like we could redirect all of that energy into some sort of energy that would propel society forward a little bit more. I saw a large language model that generates STL and CAD files, and it just blew my mind because it's like, yes, this would be so empowering for like blue collar and manufacturing America. It's like, I need a 24-tooth spur gear that is exactly 1.253 inches across and has a 6 millimeter diameter hole, and it's just like, boop, there you go.
But that will also empower the car companies to further remove employees.
I think an entrepreneurial blue collar person is gonna we just need to grease a couple wheels, and I trust that those people that run the machines will be able to out business the executives that have never been on a line in a car company.
Yeah, but they've already got the factories.
Yeah, that is an advantage.
They've already got the supply chain. They've already got the customers. They've already got the government.
How do we put the machines back in the hands of the people? Seize the means of whatever that is?
It usually doesn't go well. I don't know the answer. Maybe we'll find it on Friday. You should come back and see.
There's a lot of nonsense on Friday. Bye.